Hello, welcome. We are live again for another Q&A, and today is Monday. Saturday was Christmas Eve. I was planning on broadcasting that morning and with travel plans and everything, so here we are, Monday. And so the 5 episodes scheduled this week to finish out our course, the remaining 5 that we have for the whole month of December, we're actually launching Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday. So there will be one more episode Monday in January. Okay, so we'll have another live stream Q&A Saturday, a week from, well, today's Monday, so the end of this week we'll have another live stream Q&A. Remember, submit your questions to asknate.net. I am ready to dive right into the questions. So Chris Bradley in USA, he says, at what point should you start to transition from primarily focusing on search to suggested? I've answered this before, so you can go back and watch the other live streams to see if I answered a different way there. I typically say you want to focus on the strategy that I teach here on this channel for at least a year, ideally a couple of years. You want to lay a solid foundation of search, and you can start like anytime you get a spike of suggested traffic, if it's to your ideal audience, right? If the suggested traffic, if it's on a topic that your ideal audience loves, if it's on a topic that you meant to, target, then feed it. So really, like that can happen as soon as month 5, 6, 7, or 8. And obviously anytime after that, you can have a spike of suggested traffic. And whenever that happens, you want to feed it, but you don't abandon the leaf strategy. You don't abandon your focus on search traffic at that point. When you feel like the question here is saying, when should you transition away from search and focus exclusively on suggested? The answer may be never. The answer may be never. And you'll know when the time is right when you're there. You might be experiencing burnout when you have extreme success. So you might have a ton of success on your channel, but you might be experiencing burnout. And that's a time where you might want to scale back on quantity, but you've already built that momentum. To generate the momentum we're talking about, you need hundreds of these leaf title episodes. And it works. I mean, you will start to generate traffic and lead generation in your first month, right? You film 20 episodes in a day, launch these episodes on YouTube. You'll start to pull in that trickle of amazing, valuable search traffic that we're talking about, or that we've talked about so much. And you generate leads from very small numbers of views. So why do you need to go big? Why do you need hundreds of episodes? Well, we want a fire hose of traffic. We're talking about building a 7-figure revenue stream. So if you want a 3-figure revenue stream, that's decent. Every month, 3 figures coming in is hundreds of dollars. 4 figures would mean thousands of dollars. 5 figures means tens of thousands of dollars. 6 figures, hundreds of thousands. We're talking about a 7-figure and even 8-figure revenue streams. And that's not pie in the sky. That is what revenue comes in on multiple channels that I produce. Many of them are 7-figure channels, and some of them, a few of them, are 8-figure channels. So that's what we're talking about. If you want to build your channel to that level of revenue, then you need hundreds and hundreds of these leaf strategy videos, only launching 5 per week. So you just need to stick with it for a year or 2. So hopefully that answers your question. So I mentioned burnout might be one reason. Like if, depending on the narrowness of your niche, you might feel like you're running out of topics. And every channel is different. But if you feel like, man, I've covered everything, I've really tried to branch out and cover lots of different leaf topics, but I think I've done 600 of them, and that is my limit. So there are some things that you can do to shake up the channel at that point, ease up on quantity, and shift from that point. So hopefully that answers your question. When I know specifically more about your channel, where you're at, how much a foundation of search you've built, then I can answer that, additionally. Okay, so we got Dave back from British Columbia, Canada. So he's talking about keyword research. He says, I was rewatching day 8 through 10 of the training, And it seems like sometimes there are multiple questions that are similar, and I just pick one of them and skip the rest. Would it make sense to do a separate episode for each version of the question if they're all getting consistent searches every month? So let's stop right there and let me answer that. So the answer is I pick one on purpose because eventually, because all the other versions or variations of that question are really the same question, there's no need to make kind of duplicate content. You put your video on YouTube, and for the first month or so, you'll show up for that exact phrase. But then, like in month 2 or 3 or 4, you start to pick up momentum and get more and more search traffic to your video. That's because YouTube is recognizing, this similar question just phrased differently, it actually is answered by this video here. YouTube will start to test more and more similar questions and phrases and will assign those people to your video. So yeah, you might search, and let's say there's 5 different questions that are all kind of worded similarly, and they all get 20 searches per month. And you think, okay, should I make 5 different episodes then? This one goes after this 20, this one goes after that 20. So my answer here is no, all of them are asking the same question. And so why would you make 5 episodes with all the same answer? Now I'm going to give you an alternate scenario in a second here. But in this scenario, I would say make one 10-minute episode, pick the title of the 5 that you like the best, and launch it with that title. And eventually your video will get all 100 searches, not just the 20, but 20 times 5. It'll get all 100 of those, and probably more that you don't see that are related. Okay, so what's the other scenario? The other scenario is, well, what if you have an hour's worth of content for this one question? Typically, you could add another word, or you could do your keyword research in a way to narrow it down a bit more. If you've got an hour's worth of content, then you're probably you haven't narrowed it down enough, okay? But if you feel you have narrowed it down enough and you've still got an hour's worth of content, well then go ahead and make a 5-episode series. And yes, you can use all different, 5 different variations of that question as different titles. But I would also, just like I'm doing in my December series, where I have 22 different episodes in a series, I would make a 5-episode series. So put the leaf title and then put, a hyphen or something, episode 105. And you can say in the beginning of the episode, or you can say at the beginning of the episode, all right, in today's episode, we're going to be covering blank, and then you'd want to set some curiosity hooks about this specific episode. Like in this episode, like what's different about episode 1 versus 2 through 5? Say this is actually part of a 5-part series. In the first episode of this series, we're going to be covering this, right? And then you'd repeat that for the other 4 episodes. Also, at the end of episode 1, you'd say, all right, hopefully you found value in this episode. The next episode is going to be covering blank. So here's the thing. If episode 1 is about this, if episode 2 is about that, 3 about that, 4 about that, and 5 about that, you've got 5 different topics. So why not find a leaf title that's specific just to that one topic, or just to that topic, or just to that topic? So that's why I default back to my first recommendation of just picking the one, making a 10-minute episode. So hopefully that was helpful. All right, let's come to the next question. We've got Kevin in California. He said, I need a little bigger here so I can read this. Is it mainly the title and thumbnail that determines which traffic source is showing your video? So thanks for asking that question, Kevin. So the thumbnail does not determine your traffic source. Your title definitely does. So that's why we do keyword research following my leaf strategy that I've trained all this month on my channel. The leaf title basically determines and is a big part of search. And let me quantify that. The title is the first step. when we know the title and we put that as the title on YouTube, that's a clear signal right away to YouTube of what our video is about. Now, when we film the episode, we know what the title is. So in the intro, we verbally state what our title is. And throughout the content of the episode, we're putting all types of words related to that title. So when YouTube transcribes our video and they know all the content of our video, that's how YouTube knows that this video really is about our topic and it really does match our title. And so ultimately, our video will show up in search because of the content. And the reason that the title is so important is because the title it makes sure that we have a built-in audience. And so all these pieces add together and we get search traffic. The thumbnail makes our video more appealing. The thumbnail is definitely a big factor in suggested traffic. But it's important for all types of traffic. If somebody does a search and they see a menu of videos, if you have a thumbnail that's not very appealing, it will perform poorly. If you have a thumbnail that's highly appealing, then it will have a much higher click-through rate. So the thumbnail is important. The title is really specific in determining well, I guess I have another answer in my brain, because your title, if you're going after current events or something sensational, something pop culture, something that is more of a trending topic or a magazine headline, yeah, your title will definitely steer you towards suggested traffic, but your content has to match in everything. So your title and thumbnail are very important, and hopefully that answer was helpful. Okay, so James in Florida asks, can you show an example of how to make a longer video, 10 to 12 minutes, on a keyword topic that has a yes or no or a really short answer? And he gives an example. Can you drink coffee before a diabetes test? Okay, so if James is talking about diabetes, he's got a channel all about diabetes education, and he does keyword research and he finds this title, can you drink coffee before diabetes test? And in James's mind, the answer is like yes or no. So here, let me give you a few ideas of what you could do to make this a 10-minute episode, okay? So let's pretend I'm you, James, and I do not know the answer to this question. I'm not an expert on coffee or diabetes. I don't drink coffee and I don't have diabetes, and I'm not a medical professional, so I'm just pretending here. All right. Welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about diabetes and whether you can drink coffee before you take a diabetes test. So we're going to go into the answer of that, and we're going to explain why. Let me see, what else would we explain? So I mean, that might be a 1 or 2 minute episode right there so far. We're also going to be talking about other foods that might impact the test and how much of a margin, if needed, to have before you take your test. So right there already, there's a lot of ideas in my mind of how this could be a 10-minute episode, because what are people asking? Well, the simple question that they're asking is, can I drink coffee? But you're going to need to explain like what the test is. Are there multiple types of diabetes tests? Why are people asking this question about coffee? Does coffee impact other things? Should diabetes patients be drinking coffee at all? Another thing that you can do is when you're doing keyword research and you find this question, let's say this question has 10 searches per month. So you think, okay, golden. But then you look down the list, and in the zeros, questions that have 0 searches per month, which means, less than 10 in that search tool, you might find a couple other questions that relate to coffee and diabetes and think, I'm not going to make individual episodes about those, but I'm going to also throw those in as other talking points for this episode about drinking coffee before a diabetes test. So hopefully that gives you a lot of examples. I've got one more. You can share a story. You can share a story of somebody who drank coffee before a diabetes test and what was the outcome. and then the same person changed his ways. He didn't drink coffee before a diabetes test, and this was his outcome. That was a lot of content. You could definitely talk for 10 to 12 minutes on that. So hopefully that was helpful. All right, we've got John the Bard. I don't know if the Bard is a location or if, I don't know what that is, but John the Bard, I'm going to call him, has got another question here. He says, does anyone feel as though the algorithm for YouTube does not like older channels? I'll use myself as an example, as I'm stumbling on my words there. He's got 46,000 subscribers and average video views around 200 to 400. So I'm assuming, John, that your channel is older. It's got 46,000 views, so maybe you've had history over time, and you launch a video and it's only getting 200 to 400 views, maybe in that first day, maybe in that first week. So there's still a lot of missing information there. And so does that mean that you're only getting a low number of views because your channel is old, versus if you launched a brand new channel with the same content, would you be getting more views? So the age of your channel really doesn't matter, but what does matter is the audience. You'll notice the Nate Woodbury channel, which is, I would call it an old channel. I certainly did not start my channel back in 2007 or 2006 or 2008, right, when a lot of some of the big time YouTubers that didn't know, have a clue about what they were doing, yet they were wildly successful. I didn't start then, but I started, in the years that followed, and, I've got 66,000 subscribers on my channel, so it's got decent momentum. And yet when I launch a video, it even gets less than what you're talking about right here, 200 to 400. I launch a new episode and it will only get, say, 100 views or 200 views. I've had videos on this channel get 1 million views. Why are my videos now only getting 100 to 200 views? Is it because my channel is old? No, it's because the videos that took off and got millions of views that I fed and got more, tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of views, and I continued to feed for a couple of years, was the wrong audience. It was not the main intended audience for the channel. It was just, it was a mistake that I made, and I continued to feed it. And recently, I've actually taken down a lot of those videos. I've made them unlisted so that they're not indexable anymore. And they're not, if you go to my YouTube channel, you can't find them. You just have to have a specific link for them. And there are 100-ish videos like that I've taken down that have taken off, but built traffic around the wrong audience. One of them was, I interviewed somebody who, it was on the topic of not ironing, but how to use a clothing steamer, something like that. I don't remember the title, but that video actually took off on my channel, but that is not my intended audience. And so what I'm doing is I'm doing the work. It's going to take me a period of months. I'm really not expecting a whole lot until we get halfway through 2023 for my audience to really turn around. I've got authority and I've got credibility with my channel, and yet I post a video and YouTube shows my video to the wrong audience for that video, and they don't show interest. And so it's going to take some time for my channel to find the right audience. But eventually, all the videos that I've launched this whole month, and all the work that I'm putting into the first part of 2023 will get traction. You can completely change the direction of a channel. So if you've got 46,000 subscribers, and yet those subscribers are not, you're obviously not getting 46,000 views, then it's probably a mismatch of the audience. Where did those 46,000 subscribers come from? What type of content did you create? What videos have you gotten the most views on? And what type of content are you creating now? And where is that mismatch? And I will clarify, because why am I putting myself on YouTube as an expert of YouTube when I'm having this challenge on my own channel? Well, this is the Nate Woodbury channel that I'm talking about. The Nate Woodbury channel is actually for many, many years not been my priority. I produce dozens of different YouTube channels, many of which, as I've explained, and many of them that I share with you, like the Noel Randall channel, like the Paul Jenkins channel, like the Nicholeen Peck channel. Many of those, I am an owner of that channel. Many other channels behind the scenes, I am a seven-figure earner because of my work on YouTube. YouTube. It's actually, this is the Nate Woodbury channel that we're watching right now is not the only channel that I've had struggles with, but it's only, like, I can count them on one hand, the number of channels that I've actually experienced this on, just because the Nate Woodbury channel was actually not my focus. So hopefully that gives you a lot of information to really understand the answer to that question. Okay, Roland in Austria. Ooh, Austria. Welcome to our live stream and welcome to my YouTube channel. All right, hello, Nate. Thanks for sharing your strategies. Does your YouTube framework also work for faceless channels? Thanks for answering my question best. Okay, so I would say no. Just right off the bat, my quick answer is no. The reason for that, and let me say, there's going to be exceptions, and I'd say go ahead and try it. But the whole point of my strategy is to build a relationship. We're finding people who've never heard of us before. They find us on YouTube through search, and we are now the expert. They see us as the expert, and yes, we could present that expertise. We could answer their question. We could give them value without our face being on the camera. We could show something else, and I could be off camera, right? But then they don't know what we look like, and we want them to know what we look like. We want to build a relationship. We want to be able to look them in the eye. So I can come oh, there we go. I was waiting for the focus. You want to be able to see the whites of my eye. You want to, you can hear a voice, but to build a relationship with me, to be able to recognize me if we passed each other on the street, you've got to see my face. There's a level of trust that we want to build. And it's much harder to do that with just audio only. So that's the biggest reason. Yeah, you want to be on camera. You want to show your face. Okay, so the next question. Okay, one more from Dave in Canada. He says, okay, lead magnets. Lead magnets, $ versus free. So lead magnets that cost money versus that are free. It seems like you're recommending the free plus shipping model to get a higher quality lead and more contact information versus 100% free ebook where you just get their name and their email. So is that true? Is that what I'm recommending? And the answer is yes, because it is a higher quality lead and because it works so well. Of all the lead magnets that we've tried on many different channels, it's just a winner, because when you can say, I've got a gift for you, like you give them value, you've answered their question in an episode, and then you hold up a book on that entire topic, people just know the value of a book. And when you let them know, I'm going to give it to you for free, I'll give you this physical book for free. Sorry for that. I could have tried to mute my cough there, but and you let them know, hey, look, you have to cover the shipping costs. And people understand, like, yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm willing to cover that. You're giving me the book for free. You're not making any profit, right? So it's a really valuable request. But it's not an easy thing to pull off, because if you've never written a book, how do you do that? Well, you've got to write a book. I've been working on my book for a couple of years, and it's been very expensive. Nearly $65,000 has been my investment for the book that I give away for free on my YouTube channel now. And there's still more costs that I'm investing into it for the other versions, the audiobook and whatnot, which I'm fired up about, really excited about. So like, do you need to have a free plus shipping book? I would say no. I would say start with something else. So you don't have to worry, you don't have to spend $65,000 on a book like I have. But why am I doing it? Because it is such a valuable lead magnet. So continuing on with this question, what's been your experience with the percentage of people who take you up on it? The percentages range all over the place with different lead magnets. If your call to action is really compelling, meaning you deliver really high value in the book, and there is in your episode, you deliver really high value in your episode. So that means you've got expertise that people really need. And you get to the end of the video and there's definitely more need. Like they need this toolkit from you, or they need this checklist even, or a shortcut. Like, all right, this is a lengthy process, but I have a shortcut for you. If you download, if it's a training that'll help you cut the time in half, whatever it is, if it's really going to be helpful for them, they obviously need value, and you're going to give them more value that they really need, then a 10% conversion rate should be expected regardless of what it is. I mean, think about it. If you're in a room with 100 people, so you're on stage and you've got a group of people that is your target audience in the room, and you deliver value and then you offer them a free gift, right? Or even if you're selling a book at the back of the room, I mean, just think, people there, they give you an applause at the end. Are people just going to leave and not talk to you? No, like in my experience, a lot of people come up to me afterwards. They want to talk to me. They want to ask me a specific question. They want to tell me, I don't know, there's some insight that they had when I was presenting, or they're hoping, like, what can they do to work with me? They want to experience what I've experienced. And then there's going to be other people that go back and want to buy my book at the table and whatnot, or sign up for some event. There's always interest. And so the same thing happens on a YouTube episode. If you deliver, then to have at least 10% of those people want to opt in and get your free gift, that's actually realistic. So are the percentages different for a free plus shipping book than something else? And I would say, yeah. I mean, if you I would encourage you to experiment. Do one lead magnet, of one type on one video, and do a lead magnet of another type on another video, and see if you can do apples to apples comparisons. I mean, if one video itself performs better than the other, then that's not really apples to apples when you're testing the lead magnet. But if you can find, this video has this many views and this video has this many views, so they're equal, what's the conversion rate? How many leads did you generate from those? For me, I need their phone number. I want their phone number so that I can send a text message, or so that I can call, or I can qualify them a bit more. So email allows me to have them on my email list, and I can communicate with them. If I want to set up a strategy session with somebody, I need their phone number. I need to be able to send them a text message. So and if you're just giving away something that's not as valuable, you'll get a higher percentage of people that will just give you their first name and their email address. Okay, my screen on my camera turned off, but we're still going here. Okay, that's good. So you will get a percentage of people that will give you just their first name and their email address, but they're going to be lower quality leads. If you start asking for more things like your full name, what's your phone number, you're going to have less people that will opt in. But it makes sense on a free plus shipping book for you to get their shipping address and everything else. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. Was there anything else to this question? Would I recommend that to get started? Yeah. So I would say, just because a free plus shipping book takes more effort to get started, start with something else, but it still needs to be super, super valuable. One of the episodes in this month is all about the lead magnet. So hopefully that episode is helpful as well. Okay, so Nathan in Northwest US, he says, I don't have a product to sell, but I want to get started with making videos. Which is more important, video quantity or consistent video topic? So right off the bat, like, I don't know if you're comparing, I don't know if the two things are the best two things to compare. Consistent video topic really isn't important. What you need is a consistent audience. And so a lot of times that does mean a consistent video topic, but I just want to make sure you're thinking about it in the right way. The example that came to mind was Noelle Randall. I mean, some episodes she talks about Turo rental cars and her rental car business. Other times she's talking about Airbnb real estate. So they're two different topics, but the same people love watching both of them, right? So she needs to be consistent, talking about topics that her audience is interested in. Now, the other side of the question is video quantity. So what's more important, being consistent with your audience, we'll say, or quantity? Quantity actually, in the long run, isn't that important. Like, is that, do I agree with what I just said there? If you had a channel with momentum, quantity doesn't matter. But the reason quantity matters so much in the beginning is because you don't have any audience, and the strategy that I'm teaching you, each episode is only bringing in a trickle of traffic. And if you want to build a 7-figure channel or an 8-figure channel, we need a ton of traffic. And so quantity is huge. My strategy works with small quantity. If you just launch 1 episode per week, so 52 episodes in a year, the strategy will work. You will generate leads. You will generate business revenue. It might be, 4 figures monthly instead of 6 or 7 figures monthly. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let me read a little bit more, see if there's more that you asked here. I would need 3 channels to cover the topics I want to cover. Ooh, okay. Now, why is that? Maybe he explains. Good name, by the way. I don't think I have enough ideas to make 5 videos a week for each niche audience, but 5 videos is total is very doable if the topics are varied. I appreciate your content and your time. All right, well, thanks for the appreciation. So you don't want to create 3 channels, especially when you don't have time for that. Even if you had time, even if you could film 15 episodes in a week, the mental capacity needed to focus on one channel and to grow it, you will not succeed if you divide that 3 ways. You really need to focus on one channel. Now, the question that I would have for you is why you think you need 3 channels for 3 different topics. Do you have 3 different businesses? Do you have, and I'm not trying to tease you or anything, but the first example that came to my mind is a knitting business. You teach people knitting patterns and strategies and how to use different yarn and whatnot. And then another one is programming and teaching people how to program in some computer language. And the other one is you like to answer questions about space, technology and SpaceX and Blue Origin and all these things, right? So those are 3 different audiences, 3 different businesses, whatever, so you're going to need, 15 episodes a week. I would say if that were your scenario, which I don't think it is, but if that were your scenario, you've got to count 2 of them as hobbies. So maybe knitting and the programming, or which one do you, if you're in programming, you probably went to school. I don't know. I'm just making it up. Let's say the knitting and the programming one were your hobbies. Whether you make videos for those or not, it's okay. If you skip a whole week and you don't make an episode for a hobby channel, it's okay, because that's not what your livelihood is dependent upon. You focus on the main one. So if your main one was the space one, space technology and space companies, right? Whatever the one is the priority for you, that's the one that you need to focus on. Now, on the other hand, if all 3 niches that you're talking about, and I can turn off the question for a second there, all 3 niches that you're talking about are of interest to the same audience, right? And if they're all of interest to you for, like, if you have one, like, if the way that you generate revenue is through selling a service, and all 3 niches, all 3 topics of people, the people interested in those topics are all going to be interested in that one service, then it's definitely just one channel. You're going to want to talk about all 3 different topics on the same channel. You'll just have 3 different trees, but you need to go very specific on tree A, and then very specific on tree B, and very specific on tree C to the leaf titles. But you can launch all those episodes on the same channel. So I want to see, do we have any more questions, or is that it? Okay, that is it. That wraps it up. We had a shorter lineup of questions today. I am going to see if any more were submitted during the episode. And no, there were none submitted live. And I can check one more place. Nope, none were submitted there either. So this is the final week episode. We have 5 more episodes in the course. So 22 episodes in the course, teaching you my entire strategy, generating leads for YouTube. Make sure you stay tuned all week, Tuesday through Friday, plus the final episode has been pushed to the following Monday after New Year's. And then Saturday, which is New Year's Eve. Is that right? Saturday, New Year's Eve, probably 10 a.m. Mountain Time, somewhere around there, will be my final live stream for this segment. I will be doing more in the future, obviously. I've created this whole live stream workstation, so I've got to put it to good use. Plus, I've got one in my Florida studio house as well. So signing off now, and we will see you in everything else coming up.